Look at this map of Jakarta in 1977 and compare that with today. The situation seems pretty bad. So bad that the land is sinking by 25 centimeters a year. The situation is getting dire as locals build, only to face floods that crush their hopes. That Jakarta is insanely polluted and overcrowded, and the future predictions are so much worse that by 2050, 1/3 of the city could be underwater. And to add fuel to the fire, nature has become really angry, posing an existential question for Jakarta. So, it was apparent that something had to be done, and the government stepped up. 1,300 kilometers away from Jakarta, the authorities have proposed building a new capital in a jungle, which honestly might seem like a cool idea, but will investing 33 BN in the new capital be the solution? Will this investment save Jakarta from sinking, or will the bustling capital city vanish from the map forever? You see, Jakarta is built on swampy land near the coast and has 13 rivers flowing through it. But what's strange is that the biggest reason that most people are sinking here is lack of water. In Jakarta, many people don't have clean water from pipes. Instead, they use wells to get water from deep underground. Imagine the ground as a sponge full of water. When too much water is taken out, the ground sinks and collapses, causing problems. Normally, rain would refill these underground water sources, but in Jakarta, that's happening less and less because of rapid development and lots of concrete. This lack of rain is causing areas like Marabaru, a fishing neighborhood, to flood more often, especially during high tides and heavy rains. People there even build makeshift bridges to get around when it floods. So, Jakartans mainly use wells that pull water from shallow aquifers, causing the land above to sink. The issue gets worse, with new buildings like apartments, malls, and government offices increasing the chance of dangerous floods. But you know what's worse? Pumping groundwater isn't the only reason for the change of capital. Jakarta is also struggling under a huge environmental burden. Air quality in the city has plunged over the last few years, recording worse conditions than notoriously polluted cities such as Delhi and Beijing. But the urban nightmare doesn't end here. Its air and groundwater are heavily polluted. It floods regularly, but its streets are so clogged that its estimated congestion costs the economy $4.5 billion a year. Yes, the city's urban design is so poor that the daily number of commuters exceeds 9 million, resulting in a total of 22 million vehicles on the road each day. And that's why Jakarta's traffic is described by some as the city's most significant urban nightmare. And what's even more disappointing is finding out that Jakarta's government is just as bad as its policy design. Unlike other global capitals, where getting a driver's license is not straightforward, vehicle loans are not easily available, and public transportation is reliable. Jakarta faces the opposite scenario. This is why there's a constant influx of vehicles on the roads. The situation has gotten so bad that the Indonesian government has talked about moving the capital from Jakarta to here, the neighboring island of Borneo. But before we talk about why this might not help millions of people struggling in Jakarta, let's explore this 33 billion proposed new capital in the jungle. This is Nusantara, the new capital city set to open later this year. It's being built on the island of Borneo, the third largest island globally. Known for its huge rainforest, Borneo is shared by Malaysia and Brunei in the north, and Indonesia in the south. Nusantara is specifically being constructed in East Kalimantan. The city will use renewable energy, focus on pedestrian-friendly streets, and have efficient public transportation. But the design of the project will compel you to get up from your seats. These elevated walkways will connect transportation hubs, making it easier for people to use the fully electric public transport system and navigate the hilly jungle surroundings. These walkways, along with buildings on stilts, will improve airflow and help rainwater flow smoothly throughout the city. You might wonder about buildings on stilts, but this isn't new in Indonesia. Many homes are raised to avoid flooding, and the same technique is used in Nusantara. But because it's a capital city, you cannot ignore the presidential palace, which is shaped like the mythical Garuda bird, a symbol of Indonesia. Then, there's the Vice Presidential Palace. It's divided into 3 parts. These designs show a commitment to integrating with nature and preserving green spaces. A real plus compared to other cities. Starting from scratch gives them a fresh approach, but can they pull it off? Let's take a closer look at the project, which is divided into 5 phases with construction already underway. The deadlines are tight, but progress is being made. The first phase, set to finish later this year, is focused on creating the governmental zone within the jungle. This includes essential infrastructure like roads, electricity, water supply, and public transport. President Widodo aims to make New Santara his legacy and plans to inaugurate the city on August 17th, Indonesian Independence Day. By 2029, the goal is for 1.2 million people to have relocated to New Santara, although meeting this target is challenging given the current state of the building site. Subsequent phases will focus on developing mixed-use areas, improving mass transportation systems, implementing waste and water management projects, and promoting economic growth. The final phase aims to complete industrial development and ensure stable population growth, reaching 1.9 million residents by 2045, the 100th anniversary of Indonesian independence. However, challenges such as severe tropical weather and supply chain issues are causing delays in construction. Building a city from scratch in a jungle location requires significant effort and resources, but progress is being made despite these obstacles. But the question remains, will this new megaproject save the sinking Jakarta? You see, the new capital project may seem promising, but it won't solve the problems faced by millions of people in Jakarta. In 2014, the government partnered with a Dutch architecture firm to resolve this nightmare. They aimed at building and reinforcing 120 kilometers of seawalls to prevent flooding caused by sinking land. But only 10 kilometers have been reinforced so far, like the one in Mara Baru. Unfortunately, this seawall is also sinking, mirroring this sinking situation of the rest of Jakarta. The project also includes a $40 billion plan to construct a 38-kilometer wall shaped like a giant bird to protect the coast from flooding. But this project could take up to 30 years to finish. By then, Jakarta may have already lost most of its coastal land. So, the sad reality is that the city will continue to sink until the pumping of groundwater stops. And the groundwater pumping will only cease when the government provides an alternative. But this is not an unachievable task. In fact, this has been successfully achieved before. Tokyo, Taipei, Shanghai, and Bangkok are examples of cities in the region that stopped their sinking by introducing piped water systems. But the sooner the government realizes this, the better. While new presidential places in New Santara may look good for pictures and government meetings, they could contribute to sinking Jakarta. Unless the root cause is addressed, Jakarta may be one step closer to extinction.